You're watching Drakewing Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Drakewing Gaming, and some of you know me on Twitter, The Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Leandros' Path. So y'all, before we jump into it, just wanted to let y'all know that our Patreon is now for as little as $5. Y'all can help support the channel, get some awesome rewards like permanent access to our community Discord server and full access to upcoming Not Safe for Work videos. Anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and jump right back in. Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. Alright. Though you really wished you had something to wash away the overwhelming taste of seawater and bile. You feeling any better? You tried to utter a word, but your voice was stripped and raw. It was too painful to speak, so instead you... nod your head. Probably parched, I bet. Here. The shark grabbed out some kind of leather bag that swished with liquid. He didn't need to say much more as he quickly pulled it out of his hands and took out the stopper and chugged it down. The water was cool, refreshing, and tasted better than the finest wine money could buy. Though that might have been because you were as parched as a sun-dried tomato. Easy there on the water. Don't want you to choke now. You ignore him and continue to drown yourself before nearly gagging when some water travels down the wrong pipe. The shark man once again placed a hand on your back to ease you, but as soon as your coughing fit was over, you went right back to drinking. Huh! Guess it's a good sign you got so much gusto, though. Looks like Sidon won't be claiming you tonight. You're barely paying attention as you tried to squeeze out every last drop of water. I think you'll be just fine. You're quite sturdy for a human to survive that wreck. Probably hungry, too. Don't have any food on me, though, but this village ain't far from here. The Beastman stood up and reached out a scaly hand. You took a long look at it and then back at him, unsure of whether to accept the help. Relax, I ain't gonna bite you. Probably not the right thing to say. I'm friends with Marilyn and Esther. You can trust me. Yep. As wary as you were of him, you still took his hand. It was scaly and callous from hard work compared to the smooth and soft texture of your own. For a beastman like him, you thought he would have brought you up to your feet roughly, but he gently grasped your hand and slowly helped you up. Thank you. Once you were to your feet, you couldn't help but checking the beastman out. He was easily 1.5 feet taller than you and 1/2 as wide as an oak. What made you really wary of him was the scars covering nearly every inch of his skin, revealing what was likely years of near-death encounters. Across his back, his fin and tail looked a bit ruffled up too, with nicks and cuts and even a chunk seemingly bitten off. What really caught your eye was his legs, or rather his leg? In the place of his right leg was a peg, giving him an almost picturesque look of a pirate from a storybook. Your eyes quickly jumped back up as though you realized you were staring for a bit too long. Sorry. Wouldn't be the first one called staring slack-jawed at me. I'm used to it by now. Should probably introduce myself. Name's Joran, Your Highness, though I go by Jaws. Feel free to call me however you like. It was such a casual response, you almost didn't catch it. Highness? Was it just an accident? A slip of the tongue? In the days that passed since you escaped to Vienna, you were now only ever surrounded by loved ones who addressed you casually without title. Second now, water time. Leandros and Kashiro had gone to great lengths to conceal your identity. No one else aboard the ship should have known who you were aside from a select few. Should not call you that. I'm not really what you'd call the proper type, so you'll have to excuse me if I call you something wrong. I've really spent time around a king. The more he spoke, the more anxious she became. How could he possibly have known you were a king? Was his mention of Marilyn and Esther a ruse to throw you off guard? Was he actually an assassin in disguise? He certainly looked the part, the scars, the peg leg, and those eerie teeth. Yet, if he was, you'd have been dead by now. He didn't seem hostile. So far, you didn't detect any of that dark mist nor that foul stench like with the assassins. I think you have me mistaken for someone else. I'm not the king. You're not? I could have sworn you be. Ah! There I go with my big mouth, spilling what not to be said. Might as well lop off my head right now before I start sinking ships and all that. There's something quite humble about the way he spoke that made you feel more at ease. Were you worrying over nothing? You know that you should have at least been worried, but so far he hadn't attacked you yet. Maybe he really wasn't an assassin. You'll have to excuse me for not being so readily trustworthy. You seem to know me, but I know nothing about you. Who are you, and how do you know Marilyn and Esther? Oh, right. You're probably a bit cautious of me with all that happened back in Havana. Well, to start, you can think of me as your folks' go-to seafarer. We've traveled every sea in Torvares twice over. I know every current like the back of my fin. He peered behind him and questioned just how he could even see that, but decided it was better not to question. Met a few years back. I was going through a tough time. I was just a washed-up gup drinking my sorrows out at the bar, and then... They were just two bright-eyed landlubbers looking for a seafarer to guide them around the Red Sea. Didn't know who in Sidon's locker I was, but they had me figured for some kind of grizzled captain that had seen it all and approached me like a couple of starved hyenas. They had a lot of gusto even entering that bar. Only beastmen frequented it. But for them to even ask a guy like me, shit. Most humans wouldn't even give me the time of day once they saw my ugly mug. Of course, probably for the best. If they'd asked anyone else, they'd likely been eaten alive. So you said yes? Quite the opposite. I bared my teeth and told them to leave and find someone else to go along with their whims. I was hoping to scare them off, seeing how the patron were getting a little agitated to see two humans in their joint. And they showed the goods. Gold coins stood on the counter one by one. So much money that the ears of every single beastman in that bar shot straight up. One of the stupidest things you could do is show off your money to a low-life thug you just met. You're just asking to get mugged. Then what happened? You honestly weren't even sure he was telling the truth, but his story was just too good to ignore. You listened with growing anticipation, waiting to hear the next part. Well, things got rowdy, to say the least. Every beastman in the tavern wanted to shake them down for all they got and charged right at the three of us. Now, water time. Honestly, not sure why he stuck around. Just wanted to drink in peace, and I was suddenly caught up in the middle of a bar fight. Bottles were flying every which way, tables and chairs smashed to splinters. One guy got so close with a shiv he nearly gutted me through the ribs like a fish. Sounds pretty dangerous. Heh, might have been 2 drinks away from being fin up in the gutter, but I could run circles around all those young beasts. Made sure each and every one of them remembered my name before I put them to sleep. Wow, so you basically saved them. Huh. I was simply trying to save myself. Of course, after that, I guess something about them made me change my mind. I left the bar in high spirits, and the rest is history. Beastman's story reminded you of one of the many of your relatives' tales. Jaw's story was so strikingly similar to an adventure they spoke of, but a dangerous tavern brawl and a beastman that saved them from what would surely have been their grave. You can almost imagine the Sharkmen here filling in the role of their supposed hero, knocking heads and flipping their muggers on their backs. It was one of your favorite stories, nearly matched up with this beastman's own. Perhaps there was some merit to his claim. So then, how do you know me? It'd be impossible to not know you, to be honest. You wouldn't believe how often they would rant on and on about their nephew. Whenever we came across something new, you'd always be brought up, asking, you think he'd like this, or I wish he was here to see this. But the day went by, they wouldn't mention you. Of course, the first time I did see your face was as you were being carried aboard my ship back in Havana. Aside from that, I didn't see you again until you came out from your room after having defied the god of death himself. Now that you mention it, I think I remember seeing a shark beastman like you. So you traveled with us aboard that ship? I did. I did say I was their seafarer. I'm captain of the Syracusia, the greatest ship to ever sail the seas. It was commissioned years ago in Azite, finally finished just several months back. Your relatives asked for me to find a good crew and came to me again to be our captain. From first glance, he looked nothing like one, even for a beastman. But his worn outfit did have some kind of resemblance to what the other captains were wearing down in Havana's harbor. I know that's what you're probably thinking. I don't really look much like a captain, do I? Looks can always be deceiving. Well, regardless, without a ship, I ain't no captain on account of that damned Leviathan. Leviathan? You could still hear its haunting bellow ringing in your ears. As you looked out towards the ocean, you felt a sense of dread, wondering if it was still alive. And when and if it would return. If you're worried, it looks to be gone now. This island is protected by a reef, so it'll not be coming close to shore anytime soon. It sounds as though you know where we are. Hapalu Island. Bit of a stroke of luck we landed here of all islands. It just so happens to be my hometown. You grew up here? As you looked around, you noticed there was nothing of note. It's kind of barren. There's a village towards the center of the island. I can show you around later when you've gotten your time to rest. It's not as exciting as the city, but it's got its charms. So there are other people living there? Not many. It's a small island and an even smaller village. Doubt the population has grown much in time since the time I've been gone. Have you found any other survivors? Second now, water time. Aside from you, none. Been searching for about an hour now and was just about to head back. So, I'm the only one. You're hoping to hear good news. Marilyn, Esther, Leandros, Kashiro. Who knew where they could have wound up? Leandros and Kashiro were probably okay. You knew they'd likely been through worse, but Esther and Marilyn were getting on in their years. You tried to recall anything from after you had fallen off the ship. There were screams and shouts, but once you ended up beneath the waves, everything else became a blur. You likely passed out either from running out of air or being smacked on the head by something. Probably a combination of the two. It might have been a miracle that you managed to survive at all, which likely didn't bode well for your relatives. Hey, don't look so down. The fact of the matter is you're alive and well. They're likely to show up if I keep looking. Will you let me go with you? I have to find them. I have to find my family. I can't bear to lose anyone else. I know you're standing and all, but you sure you're in condition to do that? I'll be just fine. Despite how much you recovered on the ship, you could feel your legs beginning to shake again. The storm really whipped you. You felt sore all over, likely covered in bruises from head to toe. Just trying to keep yourself from falling over was taking a lot of your strength. Please. I'll tell you what. Let me take you to the village. We'll get you rested and cleaned up, then we can go searching. But it'd be bad if you caught something out here, especially with that condition you're in. You may have survived that attack, but Red Sea fever is no joke. High burning fever and turns your eyes bloodshot red. In some of the worst cases, it can cause mania. Wouldn't want you catching anything on my watch. As bad as that sounded, they could have been suffering a far worse fate. They won't be going anywhere, trust me. I've explained the situation to the villagers, and they agreed to also keep a lookout. I haven't been back to the village for a while, so who knows? Maybe someone turned up there. Alright. The village is just a short distance away. Will you be okay to walk? Yes, I think I can feel a bit of my strength returning. Alright, follow me. The dense forest made travel extremely taxing on your already beaten body. The thick shrubbery, large leaves, and twisting branches provided an obstacle every step. Jaws made it a bit easier by attempting to clear a path, but there was only so much he could do. If it wasn't for the muggy air or terrible footing, you would have enjoyed your trek through the woods. You tried to keep up, but eventually your exhaustion started to catch up to you. Several times you had to stop to rest, and the journey felt like it would take all day before you reached the village. It's only a little bit farther. Oh, that's good then. I take it you never really got out much. I would sometimes roam the city. This is a bit different, though. If you want, I could carry you. No, I don't want to burden you with that. It's no trouble at all. It's no trouble at all. I didn't develop these muscles just to go to waste. Second, y'all. It is water time. Alright. It's no trouble at all. I didn't develop these muscles just to go to waste. Jaws flexed for a moment before bending down and putting his hands behind his back, offering you a ride. Here, climb up on my back. I was always a big guy, but to give the kids in the village rides. You should be small and light enough for me to carry. He found it hard to believe that any child would have actually gotten close to him. One smirk was enough to make a baby cry. Well, must have been ages since you last would have been carried like that. Leandros was usually the one to see to your never-ending fancies, offering you a lift high above everyone else, making you feel like you were king of the world. Doing so now at your age was kind of embarrassing. Hey, do you hear? Shh! The birds had stopped chirping and the forest was dead silent, save for the wind blowing through the trees. Jaws had stood back up, his body language now tense and defensive while his eyes darted around the area. A deep rumbling came from the shrubbery ahead of you and two eyes peered through the shadows. It was frightening, and you would have backed up if it didn't also sound so familiar. A twig cracked on the ground as the creature moved, its eyes keeping a constant watch on you. Get behind me! Before you could react, Jaws was already putting himself between you and the mysterious creature. When I say run, get moving. What? Just follow the sun, and it will take you straight to the village. Hold on! The beast sprung forward on all fours, charging straight for Jaws. You could barely keep up with its movements. All you could see was a shaggy mane whipping wildly through the grove. Alright, y'all, I'm going to pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. But before I go, I'm going to give a shout out to my lovely patrons. Thank you to all of our bronze tier members. Y'all are wonderful. We appreciate everything you do for the channel. And for our silver tier member, Cade Silvermoon, thank you just for going a little bit above and beyond. We definitely appreciate the little extra money you're throwing our way. And for our gold tier member, Amr, thank you so much for just going for the ultimate tier. We really appreciate that. We were completely taken by surprise by that. So thank you so much for your dedication to the channel. We love all of you, all of our awesome patrons. And if y'all want to be on our patron list at the end of the videos, all it takes is $5 to subscribe, and it definitely helps out the channel. Anyway, y'all, thanks so much for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!